All right. So I was talking to a friend about how to start using Anki if you're getting into it and preparing to go into medical school. So off the top of my head, I spontaneously decided to create uh, just this video. So let's just hop right into it. How to learn Anki for medical school. What things I would have done differently or things I would have done earlier. So obviously you want to just learn the basics of Anki. So anybody can Google Anki, download it, install it, pretty easy. You open it up. Here's the interface you initially see. Here's all your decks, which contain your flashcards. And then some decks have sub decks. So you can pick a particular deck you want to study, maybe histology. And then, yeah, use the space bar, learn the keyboard shortcuts like 1, 2, 3, 4, which correspond to, again, hard, good, easy in this case. And this tells you when it's going to show you the card again, based on the difficulty it was for you. So yeah, learn the basics of Anki. The key premium awesome thing about Anki in medical school is that previous students have made decks that they're sharing with the internet. So to do that, just go to the medical school Anki subreddit based on the URL here. And so down in the information on the right-hand side, it shows you decks that have been shared for step 1, as well as for step 2. Some are made for particular softwares, others are made for particular subjects. The most popular ones that I've heard of are the Anking, which is largely derived from Zanki, as well as incorporating other decks. I also really like Conan's Salt deck. Um, uh, some people like the Lightyear deck for Boards and Beyond. And then for Pathoma, I really like using Duke Pathoma. So that's just my personal take on it. Um, Let me just talk about the different formats or the differences between these. So the Anking is the most comprehensive one. It's what, 30, 40 plus thousand cards. You probably won't end up even needing to use all of them, but depends on your preference. Lightyear Infinity is based on Boards and Beyond. I might have said that already. Conan Salt is good for sketchy medical, particularly the pathology section. And then Duke Pathoma is good for Pathoma. So with these two compared to the previous two, these cards tend to give more of a, they tend to ask more recall per card, whereas these cards are more bite-sized fragments. So the advantage is that you have a bigger picture of what you're recalling when you use these cards. It's just harder to learn. Whereas here, it's just easier to learn. It's just more cards that you have to learn. So it's really up to personal preference. Try them out, install them, see which ones you like. Okay, so once you've installed the decks, you want to see what's in there. So go to the browser window. You can press B or you can click on Browse. You see what's due today, various flags, card states, decks, tags. Tags are really powerful. This entire browser search tool is very powerful. Maybe you want to look up particular things about cholestasis. It'll show you all the cards that have that word in there. Maybe cirrhosis. You don't even have to type out the entire word. Maybe you want to look up just chapter 7 or chapter 8 of Duke. So you can click on chapter 7, shift click, and then it'll show you all the cards, and then you can see the information for each card. So that's really powerful. Get used to searching and browsing and unsuspending, because that's what you're going to be doing for all these pre-made decks. Maybe you have some lecture specific material that's unique to your medical school. You might want to consider adding your own cards. So here you just go up to add. You can probably learn how to do this on your own, but close is what a lot of YouTubers with Anki have said is very powerful. So maybe you want to make your own card, and then you can click on, you can highlight various things, press Command or Control Shift C, and do that for another card. And so these closed deletions are basically like fill in the blanks, right? So if you preview the card, it'll basically show you this on the front. It'll ask you what goes in this blank, right? And then you click on the space, you press space bar, it shows the answer. So this is really good for giving you a context in which you can recall the answer. Let me just take this moment to highlight the difference between notes and cards. So this thing that I'm filling out here is for one card, right? But the flashcard it'll show me maybe might be asking me for a number of seasons or what those seasons are. So those are two cards, right? but the entire thing is a note. Okay. So just make sure that you understand it, because sometimes in the browser search window, it shows note versus card, and some people have confusion over it. All right. So that's it for all I have to say about adding cards. One of the two things I wish I learned earlier on is how scheduling and intervals work. So there's definitely way more detailed information out there about how Anki intervals and learning steps and what a do versus learn versus graduated cards, so on and so forth are. So Conan, the Anking, especially Zach Hiley, as well as his blog posts, are all really good for getting familiar with how ease factors work, how interval modifiers work, how the scheduling works. It's one of those things that you have to really get familiar with if you want to climb the learning curve for Anki. So just as a quick demonstration, say I do a card here. Down here, it tells me when it's going to show it to me again. This can be a problem if you have a ton of cards and you don't want to see so many and go through so many in such a short period of time, and feel like you're just grinding through Anki instead of actually learning anything. So knowing how to adjust the intervals by going through options, and then knowing what these daily limits, new cards, lapses, all these scheduling intervals mean is going to be really helpful. And again, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. Just go back to these videos and learn to figure it out yourself. Okay. The other thing I wish I learned was filtered decks. And again, there's some really good videos out there, like how to use custom filtered decks. They basically allow you to separately learn a topic if you don't want to jumble it with other cards in the same deck. So for example, maybe I have a bunch of cards for Pathoma or whatever do, and maybe I only want to focus on learning chapter 7 or 8. So I can just click here, chapter 7 or chapter 8, Command A, Command J to unsuspend, Command G to create a filtered deck. Let's call this Duke chapter 7 to 8. Here's my search criteria. I'm going to maybe increase the limit to 500 cards. How do I want to see them? Maybe I want to do order added, and then I press build, and then the filter deck shows up here. So the filter deck is kind of like this separate thing, like you've put it in a separate part of the room, but it's still a part of the original Duke Pathoma deck. So everything that I learn here will be information that's recorded, as provided I checked that box when I was creating the filter deck. And let's say that I want to delete a filter deck. Those cards will all return to the original deck. So it's really, really useful, really, really powerful. And it doesn't have to be certain tags. Maybe I just want to learn stuff about acute coronary syndrome, and then I can just create a filter deck from different original decks. So it's a really powerful tool if you know how to use it well. If you don't reschedule, it's really good for exam cramming. But again, you can figure it out on your own, really learn to use that. I think it's really helpful. Maybe others might disagree. Finally, there are many different add-ons that are really useful. Hierarchical tags is one of them. A heat map, this browser toolbar up here. They are all very useful. Again, different YouTubers have already covered this, but just be aware of how powerful and how life-changing add-ons can be. And so, yeah, that's all I had for this. That's all I have for this video. See ya.